Hey everybody, thank you for joining us on the FareCompare video podcast, episode number 33. We're going to chat in this podcast about a few interesting news topics, some cheaper destinations for summer. Did a little research on that the last couple weeks, and we'll share some of that. And then we'll chat about our event of the week, Eventrist, our native app you can find on iOS or Google, Android's Play Store. We'll talk a little bit about that event of the week, which is one of my favorites, which I've been to, I think, probably 10 or 11 times. In fact, I have a 2004 version of the t-shirt my daughter wants me to throw away. So we'll talk a bit about that as well. And then we'll take a question from a customer or two. And joining me today is our editor from the site at FareCompare.com, Ann McDermott. Hey, Ann.
Hey, Rick, we're talking about cheaper destinations for summer, and I just want to say that there are a load of airline sales right now that have a lot of summer dates in them. So please, everybody, if you haven't booked tickets yet, check out our deals blog. You will be glad you did.
Yeah, I would note that right now, if you're not shopping for the entire month of June and the bulk of July for departure dates, you should be shopping right now. You have a little bit of time to shop for August, but still you need to be kicking the tires pretty soon here. So just be aware, you don't want to be inside that 30-day mark of your departure. I know a lot of you like to procrastinate on your airline ticket purchases, and that's just not a good idea.
Let's talk cheaper destinations for summer. We actually have a whole bunch of them, good ones in the U.S. and international. So,
well, there's a couple different ones. Dallas is actually where I'm sitting today. Come visit us is one of them. A lot of this has to do with the Wright Amendment rolling off 18, 20 months ago. So there's some prices that have been pretty good there. Boston was on the list a couple years ago, then dropped off the list. Now it's back on again, so that's good to see that Boston's in there. Denver, I just got through doing a radio show in Denver. They're all happy because as a destination, they're cheap. But guess what? For the folks in Denver, getting away is cheap as well.
Yeah.
You also have South Florida. You have Miami, Fort Lauderdale. We've seen good pricing into sort of mid-Florida there in Orlando. Also Tampa, Fort Myers. Those locations are also pretty good. New Orleans actually made the list this year, which is interesting. Haven't seen them on the list. Definitely there. We've seen Washington, D.C. on the list as well. The last few years, definitely competition. Dulles, Reagan, Baltimore airports certainly are helping there.
Well, also the Caribbean and competition, as you noted, there is tons of competition now in the Caribbean. It used to be such a sort of elite place to go to, but now you've got Southwest has entered, Spirit
Airlines, JetBlue. Yeah, no, JetBlue is basically taken over Puerto Rico away from American Airlines. So it's pretty amazing to see that transformation. I think you'll continue to see it get cheaper over the next year or so.
And also, if you want to go to Europe, Scandinavia has been cheap for a long time, and it remains cheap. I've seen some incredible deals. And also Paris is, I don't know if you'd characterize that as cheap, but it's cheaper than, say, a London or Rome.
Yeah, no, it's on the scale of London, Paris, Rome, which is usually expensive for summer. Paris is definitely on the cheaper side running right now. So that's another place to make a jump point. Just remember, if you go anywhere in Europe, there's tons of low-cost airlines, Ryanair, EasyJet, Air Berlin. I can name off another 7 or 8 where you can get around anywhere you want to go on side trips. And a lot of the natives in Europe use these low-cost or ultra-low-cost airlines. Just similar sort of business model as Spirit and Frontier here in the U.S.
So if you wanted to go to like a generally cheap destination, say in Scandinavia or maybe Dublin, which is generally often cheap, from there you could go boop, 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 boop.
You can hop around. That's what we've done in the past. Certainly you have the train system as well you can hop around on. So the dollar is still extremely strong. It's a perfect time to go. If you have that once-in-a-lifetime trip to Europe, definitely look into that because the prices are way cheaper than we've seen historically. Now, again, London, Paris, Rome are not very cheap, but Paris is cheaper of that group if that's what you have your heart set on.
Speaking of cheap, you don't usually hear the word cheap in connection with first class, but And maybe we should say there is a way to get cheaper first class.
Yeah, yeah. Well, cheaper is relative to some people, yeah, but definitely, there are some interesting ways to get, and this is mostly for domestic U.S. tickets, not for international tickets, where business class and first class is usually 3 to 5 times higher, and sometimes even higher than coach class seats. We'll have another chat later on premium economy on international, but for domestic first class, which is sort of like business class for international, there are some cheaper days to fly. And each airline has them a little bit different. American's Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, Delta on Wednesday and Saturday, and in the case of United, theirs doesn't change a whole lot, but certainly the most expensive days is what you would expect, because that's when business travelers are flying Friday, and when people are coming back from their trips on Sunday. So definitely there's some cheaper days to fly there. Also, you have to book 7 days or more in advance in order to get some of these cheaper prices.
Yeah, and some first class can be astounding. I know that I did a little research for you, and Etihad, which is supposed to be just a wonderful airline, they have this super duper first class called the Residence. It comes with your own shower, and a first class round trip from New York to Dubai was $64,000. I'm sure it's worth every penny, but
no, not really. Stick me back there and coach. But yeah, no. I mean, when it's all said and done, there are some cheaper days. Hey, and if you're looking to if you're an elite traveler, you have a elite status with a variety of airlines, usually you'll have your miles. You can work with some of those upgrades. Some of them get automatically upgraded depending on what your status is. Also, some travel agents do have discounts on certain things. We also have talked in the past about Y-ups, which are something you can do if you're actually in a large company that says economy-only seats in the U.S. That's actually booked in the economy booking code. I mean, the cabin is actually in first class, but you're actually booking it under a code that doesn't look like first class. So we'll talk more about that with business travelers later. But in general, it's just a little cheaper in certain cases, but there are ways. And check out this article we have on our site. It'll go through each and every one of those.
And now, question from a customer. This one is from Tracy in Calabasas, and Calabasas is in Southern California. And she says, my twin sister and I got tickets to Mexico along with some friends for Girls Week this summer. What do you recommend for cell phone service? She says, I'm traveling overseas for the first time and want to know about coverage. Got any recommendations for international cell phone plans?
Yeah, well, that's interesting because I just got back from Cancun earlier for spring break about a month and a half ago, and I was pleasantly surprised that AT&T actually had free phone calls and texts from Mexico for the rest of the year. So
wow.
I have an iPhone with AT&T service. I think Sprint and let's see, what's the other one? T-Mobile is actually matching some of this as well. So it looks like what's happened is that so many people travel to the Mexican beach destinations. Used to, what I would do every time I went anywhere out of the country, and especially with my family, I have to change every one of the devices, all the iPhones, all the iPads that actually connect to the network, and buy a plan. Typically, for my daughter, I would buy the massive text plan.
Yeah.
In my case, on AT&T, and then for my wife and I, just sort of the minimal one, because I knew my daughter would be texting and I wouldn't be necessarily, and she'd be Snapchatting and sending photos. So I got her the heavy duty data plan as well. You can also set alerts on these as well. So if you get too close to your sort of limit on these, it'll automatically alert you. It's never good, and I've been in the same boat before, where I forgot to actually do that and got a bill for $700 or $800 for bandwidth. You do not want to do that when you travel overseas, but all of them have specialty things. Some you have to sign up for, some are automatic, but definitely I think all the carriers are pretty cheap when it comes to Mexico. If you're going to Europe and you're going to Asia, the prices are much more expensive.
Yeah, but it's just like a limited time thing you buy, like a little package for the amount of time that you'll be
Yeah,
there, or
usually I
for
do
the
it for a
month.
month. Yeah, I do it for a month
Yeah.
because that's the minimum increment you can do. In some cases, you have to turn it on. Don't forget when you come back to turn it off because there's still a fee for it every month if you forget to turn it off. I did that one time as well. So I'm sort of the alpha person that has hosed up my phone plans and I've got plenty of well, at least I have plenty of AT&T experience, not so much with Sprint and T-Mobile.
I will just say that personal observation only is that it took the phone companies a long time to get their act together regarding international travel and cell phone service. I mean, uh,
Yeah.
3 years ago, I was on the phone for hours after the trip to try to take these charges that I had specifically, worked out not to have to pay to get them removed. But then about 6 months ago, another trip, and it was a breeze. It was so easy, and it thanks to the phone company. So check out their websites and see what.
Yeah, and I would also note too, and I'm more of an expert on AT&T. There's also a list of Wi-Fi hotspots that are no cost. They'll send you a list, and you can punch your phone. It'll tell you what's close.
That's handy.
As soon as I hit the hotel, I take all the devices and hook them up to most hotels have up to 5, sometimes 3 to 5 devices you can connect up to Wi-Fi in the same account. So many of the hotels have, if you have certain status levels, or certain hotels also have free Wi-Fi. So it's important that if there is Wi-Fi available where you are, that you connect to that. That saves you money as well.
And thank you for your question, Tracy. If anybody else has a question, please send it to customer.service@faircompare.com. And now something a little special that you're going to talk about.
Yeah, we have the Eventrist app on both on the iPhone, iOS, and Android Play stores. You should check it out. But the event that's been put in there is one of my favorite events. I've been to the event, oh gosh, more than 10 times, probably closer to a dozen times over the last 15 or 16 years. And that is the U.S. Open tennis tournament in New York. One of the best events to go to. Great venue there. I even, I remember the 5 and the N train, coming in from Manhattan. And you also have the baseball stadium across as well. So it's a really interesting and fun event to go to. We have a document along with, I think, 180 other events now in our Eventrist app, so it's growing every day. And as I was saying earlier in the intro, I have a U.S. Open shirt that if you're part of the U.S. Tennis Association, which you do if you play a lot of tennis, they gave you a free T-shirt. And mine says U.S. Open 2004, and as you can imagine, it has like 4 or 5 holes in it. But it is my favorite T-shirt on the planet. It's been so threadbare. It's the most comfortable thing in the history. And my daughter, I think, has hidden it from me because I haven't been able to find it for the last 3 weeks or so. And they keep saying they're going to burn it, but if they do, they're in big trouble.
Well, I'd say it's time for another trip, at the very least, just to get a T-shirt.
Hey, look, and while you're in New York, there's so many cool things to do, great
Yeah.
places to eat. There's so many shows. It's just a neat venue, neat place. Good people that are there the whole time. It's fun. So give that a check out, and catch us on our next video podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud. And again, don't forget to download our native app, the Eventrist app. I check it out every morning to see what new events pop up.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Ann.